Okay, this is a little treatise on your next deliverable, which I will refer to as ST page 271 through 282. And you'll see an assignment folder, the next assignment folder, uh, mentioning that as well. And so you are now looking, I'm doing a screencast with you looking at a file that I'm going to be uploading as I did your master all script file in your team area. I'm going to be uploading this into the team area, but every person does this individually. So notice at the top, you'll need to put, instead of my name, first of all, your initials, then your name. Now I have my comments. This is not worthy to be run as a script because, as you notice, I've got items like that. That'll give you an error. That's not right. This is just telling us that you need to write a select statement, okay? And anyway, so you wouldn't run it as is. And also, I use a select statement that you need to do more with. This will not run either. But so you can change this around. You can change this to dash dash like this for a regular comment, or as you can find out, you could use a select from dual, and you could have your comment in that fashion. In that case, this comment would come out in your report output. But anyway, that's an aside. Just make sure that that you either do something like this, which would then make it a select across the board, or actually just convert it to a working select statement. Okay, so you're going to have basically 26 select statements to put together, and that should be 26 out of 26 if you get everything working at the time you submit it. But if you know that you're missing a couple, you can say, I got 24 out of 26 working. Okay, now this is all about Chapter 7, and you guessed it, pages 271 through 282 here. Okay, and by the way, IOL are my initials, so if you see it, this particular file is named ST page 271-282, my initials.dml. Anyway, so this tells us that these are select statements using templates from the book, basically, and the textbook, if you'll go to page 271 through 282. Now, I do have the textbook up. Let me okay. What I was about to say, I paused the recording, by the way, to bring up the textbook. Here on page 271, you'll notice this section is select queries. And what the author does is a very good process of bringing you up to speed incrementally with select statements. So here's the general form of a select statement, but here is an exact working select statement. Now, in pages 271 through 282 is what you're going to be looking at every select that the author is providing. And what you are going to be doing is you're going to use this, and instead of using the table that they're referring to, you can pick any one of the 10 tables in the sports database as your
There's nothing on the screen.
example. What's that, Christy?
Is there supposed to be something on the screen?
Oh, yes, there is. Oh, gosh.
I was wondering.
Thanks for telling me. So, I'm surprised that it's not sharing. Okay, I'll share again. Doggone it. I'll have to edit that out.
There we go.
Okay, in the last minute, although before tomorrow's midterm, I won't be able to edit this out. I'll just have to leave that artifact in there. I didn't have the screencast, so let me start the last minute's talk over again. This is page 271 that I'm at. Here's the 7.4 section on select queries. But aside from the general form of the select statement, the author in these 10 pages or so will be giving you examples of select statements, and they'll be incrementally increasing the capabilities of each select statement so that you can understand how to use select statements. So your next project will be the ST page 271 through 282 project deliverable, which takes every select statement and converts them from the author's actual example of product, and they've got a little set of 6 tables that they use, vendor and product in most of your examples. You will be changing these to make work in the data that you have within your sports database of 10 tables. So instead of from product, you would say from customers or from teams or whatever you like. And every person on your team will have something totally different than it, because you're going to be coming up with examples on your own. But everybody on your team will be alike in the fact that you are going to be understanding what the author is referring to in this select statement and adjusting that to be applicable towards the 10 tables, any of the 10 tables on your team. Okay, so here, this is all about the where clause. So if I was doing, for example, against the team table, I'd say from team. Of course, I'd be listing attributes from the team table, but then the idea is to put a where clause where you're only getting certain rows. Now, team is a parent, but if I would read into this, if I went to the product table, and by the way, on an earlier page, you would be able to see the actual data. I think it's page 259. So let me, or it might not be that. But anyway, okay, so here's the product table itself, and I can see the data that they're looking at, and that is one of the examples is page 267 of this. Anyway, so if I said where V code equals a certain value, from the product table, I am going to be getting multiple rows back. So I wouldn't want to go to the team table and ask for ID equals T02, then I'd only get 1 row back. But if the author is talking about going into a child and doing that, like if we went to customers, team ID is in there, and if we said where team ID equals T1, we'd get a couple rows back, or 2 or 3, that sort of thing, right? So that's the gist of the whole point, is understanding what the author is talking about, and then making an example, and then you would put that into your file. Now, the way your file would look, I'm giving you an example right here, and you, in my example, so I'm not giving you answers. In my example, I'm using the CalSCAD data model. So if you were to think about, and you could in D2L open that data model of 5 tables up, you would be able to discern my intent here. So if I go to the class table, this is an exact equivalent of what the author's coming through with. I've got a where clause, and if I'm asking from the class table where Prof ID equals a certain value, P007, I will be getting multiple rows back on from this select query. Okay, so that's an exact idea, and I give an example here. And the next one, the author's trying to tell you, well, what about not equal to? And here's a way of saying not equal to. Look to see. Now, I put a little bit of entrapment here, perhaps. So if it doesn't work, you'll need to know, oh, you can say not equal to in the Oracle way and that sort of thing. But anyway, so as I mentioned earlier, you don't want to just allow anything to say this and expect it to work. You'd have to finish the comment off, because if this said select ... you would be able to then change that to that, which I think is pretty obvious. So you'll see that I have all the way down to page 282, I have pointed out the following. On page 271, there must only be one select statement, because I have 271A. In 272, there's only one select statement, 272A. On page 273, only one. But if you go to 274, which I'll take you there in just a second, there must be a couple of select statements, because I have 274A, 274B, and in 275, there must be 3 select statements. You get the idea. So let me make sure you are okay with this. So this is what I mean. If we go to page 273 or 4, now that we're at 4, you can see, well, here's 275. Here's a select, here's a select, here's a select. So you're going to need to come up with an example that has when you read the verbiage, you'll realize that this is all about a calculation. And in a select statement, here's where we have quantity on hand times price. So what would be output is the price. Okay, see where it says expression. Make that a little bit bigger for us. Where it says expression, that's because we didn't give a column alias here. And the next one says, oh, well, hey, use a column alias. And so then you would have a heading for this so people could get an idea, well, what the heck is this column for? Okay, so the gist is you read through here and you make, for every page only up to page 282, and that's where you stop. We'll do others in a later week deliverable, getting up to page 303, which is the end of chapter 7. Okay, so that's what your deliverable is. I just want to bring this up now, even though you don't have to start working on it until after this Friday, because I want to make an announcement. This Friday is when the assignment is due that had 2 due dates to it. I think I put in an announcement, and I'll maybe make another announcement. But last Friday at 5 p.m. was your initial due date on your team assignment. I didn't want to openly say it at the time, but there was really 2 time frames and 2 due dates. But if I tell people it's not really due until the week later, that would get people not devoting time just to the pre-mid, which I wanted to have happen in the last 4 days, because our pre-mid is tomorrow, the closed book part. A couple reasons, and I wanted to initiate you into the multi-user experience, which you had last week only to start immersing yourself into. So with that being said, I don't really want you to start on this till after Friday or whenever your full team is done. So if your team is done as of Wednesday, by all means, feel free to do it. But I want everyone to have next week totally off. You deserve it. And I'm not saying that in a charming way. You did deserve it. You put in a lot of work up till now. And in future classes and in future weeks of this class, you would expect not to have as much to do. I do see that I may have put too much on your plate, especially last week. But that was the intent, and now I can tell you a little bit more about that intent, okay? And that is just that I wanted to really have it due in 2 stages. So there is no penalty points if you didn't get it done. If you did get it done, because some people put in a yeoman's effort and got it done, and there was a team that got everybody done, except for a team member. Every team has a team member that probably didn't communicate at all with you, and that's because I still had to add everyone to a team, even those people who had but didn't drop the course, but they hardly put in any content time into D2L. So I can tell that those people were basically week 1 people, and they didn't really, move on. Now there's some other people that did give some effort and then they realized it's over their head, or for whatever reason they shouldn't have been in an online class, because an online class is always a little bit more difficult than a face-to-face. But in any event, every team can work on this and help each other out. It is not considered cheating to help people out. The only thing that's cheating is if you copy someone's work as your own and tweak from there. But that's obviously not correct, and that's taboo. But if you would please help each other out and help the weakest link, and that doesn't mean in this other projects, they would be the weakest link, but whoever is behind or have questions or whatever, feel free to help them out, because I'm hopeful that by this Friday, I'm opening up the assignment folder after tomorrow's pre-mid, by the way. You won't see it open until then, or available till then, till tomorrow night, and then on till Friday night. That'll give everyone enough time, and with the pre-mid behind them, so they can just solely get back to thinking about the project deliverable. Okay, I'm going to end this recording now.